We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you another episode of We Can Help with Dave and Woody, already in progress.
Really? I didn't even have time to look something up. I appreciate that, Dave.
Well, you got to be pretty quick draw here at
I,
the
I I
We
was
Can
not
Help
prepared for the
Studios.
record button tonight. So
So anyway, what was I saying?
you're
Shit for
talking about,
Shinola.
yeah, kids that don't know shit for Shinola, and I'm trying to tell you that as a youth, we thought we were the cat's meow and knew everything, and the old people didn't.
Well, I do this every day in class. I try to empathize. I try to put myself in their shoes, and I'm hearkening back to seventh or eighth grade at Conway Junior High. Mr. Hardesty taught geography. One of my Probably my favorite, one of my favorites in junior high. And I'll be honest, with junior high was not an easy. From seven to ninth was tough years. I mean,
It's not good for boys. It's the prime. You were figuring things out in those years, and
yeah, there's some
school is
adolescent.
not your top priority.
Yeah, there's some adolescent stuff going on. That's well, we could list them all, but to your point, yeah, we're
Yeah.
not really mature. There's some hormonal stuff going on.
Yes, going on. It's
We're growing
crazy.
face hair and whatever. And so, but a buddy of mine, Steve, and I had Hardesty together, and we had wooden chairs at wooden desk, and those like lab tables with the black tops,
Yes,
those things.
yes, 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 yes. The
And so
black soapstone on
yeah,
top.
we were
Yeah.
always leaning back in our chair, and Mr. Hardesty was always like, "Hey, boys, cut that out because you're going to fall over." Right. So we were constantly kicking the legs out from under each other, busting our tails. So I can imagine Hardesty. I don't know if he's still alive. He was young back then, but if he's still alive, he would probably go, "Yeah, you peckerheads were just a pain in the ass the whole time."
Right.
Now, launch forward, I'm 61 and I got a classroom full of kids, and so
Well,
I get
just to
it.
be clear, this story started concerning your daughter, not your kids at
Yeah.
school.
So I do this every day, and me not being a career teacher, if there's any teachers out there listening to us tonight,
God bless you.
well, yeah, maybe they can weigh in. I know we've got a couple of them out there that are teachers, but I don't know. I don't know if kids have changed. Now I'm the angry old man shaking my fist at the cloud. I'm sure that's part of it, but I really am empathetic to what's going on and trying to find them to bring them back into the learning environment. And it's challenging, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. Some days, today I had a good day. I got a new piece of equipment I'll share with you.
Yeah, what
uh
you got?
Apparently, there was a study done. There was a woman, I think it was a woman, that had a child that was hearing impaired, not deaf, but hearing impaired. And so she found out, you move the kid closer to the teacher in the front of the class. Well, sometimes the teacher moves around, so he's not always in the front of the class. And so what she discovered was, through a series of tests, and some other like universities did this test, was you could be someone like me who has a very strong voice in the front of the room, and everyone within the first third of the class can hear me, but it's that last third of the class who doesn't hear as well. And so there's opportunity for them to be distracted and to, not hear the lesson and also be silly. And so they came up with this system, and now it's a two-part system. Part of it is a security system that we now are all focused on locking down and being able to get, there's an event going on at school
Yes.
that we need to be able to lock the school down. Well, so now we have these new speakers in each room that's all tied together throughout the campus. And then I've got a lavalier thing that I wear around my neck that just happens to have a microphone. It's a good mic too, but us being on the podcast, and we're sensitive to that. But it's got a nice microphone on it, and of course, it's got these two squeeze buttons. If I squeeze it, I can lock the entire campus down. As
You gotta
which
be
scares
careful.
me because my
Yes.
hands are so big. I'm trying, like, how do I grab this thing?
You're taking it off at the end of the
I,
day.
I,
You long place
I really,
down.
I mean, I'm like, okay, don't push the buttons, Dave. So, and
Uh,
it will literally, they won't, no questions asked. It'll lock the
right.
whole school down. So fortunately, I haven't done that yet, and I don't want to.
Has
But
anybody done it by accident?
I don't know. But it'll be
Okay.
me, the one that does it. And I'll get fired for it. But anyway, this microphone, they put new speakers in my class in the front, middle, and back. So I got like Bose stereo system
Yeah.
going on, and it's made a difference. And so
Oh,
instead,
so it's for the lavalier microphone?
it's for the oration in my class.
Oh,
And I have a strange class. It's at least 15-foot ceilings. It's a huge computer lab. Everyone faces the opposite direction where I am. And my computer desk, I don't like it the way it's set up, but I have to sit at my desk for a period of time to look at my PC. It's crazy. So, this has turned out to be very well. So what happens in a crazy class, like one of my classes is by its own nature, it's a split class. We go to lunch in the middle of the class and we come back. And it's fourth period. We have B
okay.
lunch. And it's by its own design, it's got already problems. Everyone who's in this lunch is like, man, it's a tough class. Because the kids come, they go, then they come, they
All
go,
right.
and got to get them settled down. So no fault of their own to that. But anyway, what happens is it reminds me of being in the bars at night. Remember when we'd go to the bars and
No, no, Dave, I don't.
as the night would progress, it got steadily louder. And then right before, the last call, it'd be like you'd be screaming at each other because the place was so loud.
Everybody elevates above the next, and
Yeah,
then you're
it
all up
notches
here.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm not yelling at the kids, but the noise level does that. And before you know it, you're not screaming, but you're louder. And so what this thing has allowed me to do is I just speak normally. And
Yeah.
so in my normal tone, there's a sense of calming about it. And I'm not wasting my voice, burning it up. And I'm able to maintain the class a little better. So I was not, and we got this thing on a grant. Apparently, there was some grant that allowed us to do this, and the school didn't have to pay for it. The taxpayer didn't have to pay for it. So that made me feel better. But I don't know. The point of that story is I'm enjoying it, and it's helping with my fourth period class. So,
Well, good.
yeah. So that's going on today.
Well, what's funny is you had an experience with some new technology, and I had an experience with somewhat experience with old technology today. One of my employees was we do a lot of work with the local governments and stuff like that. And she was trying to determine some boundaries, and I won't even name the county, but in North Carolina, but their information wasn't online. And it was a good 3 hours away from the office. She says, "Oh, you got to make an appointment, and then you can go into their files and look up the information I need." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And she showed me, she goes, "Yeah, see here, it's located in drawer 12, slide 12, slide 8, whatever." And I said, "Oh, it's a microfiche." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Oh, you don't know microfiche?" And she's like, "No." And I said, "Well, and so I doubt there's anyone in this call who doesn't know what microfiche is, but I'm like, it's like what they do is they take a picture of a page of a book and they shrink it down to, like the size of a rice and put it on a piece of paper, and further confusion. And then you put it in this machine. You have to, when you went in the library, you had to get your pen. I was explaining the microfiche machine. I hadn't thought about that in ages. How you'd put the little slide and tray,
Yeah.
and you'd move it around and so you could
Yeah.
see it on the
Like a
screen.
negative. Yeah.
And so I got back to my desk and I Googled, images of microfiche readers. Essentially, she goes, "Definitely have never seen one of
Well, did they
those."
use that, or did they have like old plat books on the?
Well, no, it wasn't. It had to be microfiche because it said which slide
Yeah.
you had to pull to see that page of the plat book. And so we were trying to figure out ways, and I'm like, "Well, I can't send anybody under the age of 40 out to that location. You won't know how to use the microfiche machine." So,
Yeah, the things we take for granted.
yeah. I mean, that was memory years ago, right? You could put a whole book on a little slide. Was
Yeah,
the concept.
this is how boring I was. In the summers in Orlando, we'd ride our bikes to the downtown library down by Ivanhoe. And it was hot as Hades, and so the library had air conditioning. We didn't. Not all of us had AC at the time, and you could go up to that area, the media area, and it'd be like watching old movies. You'd read stuff. I mean, it's
Yeah.
boring, but we'd put it on there and reel it around, or you had that
Well, it was
microfiche was
high
a big
tech at the
slide. Yeah,
time.
it was
It
cool.
was
You got to see old newspapers and
right. I used to go, my father was in the newspaper business and occasionally he had to work a Saturday. And one of his deals, he'd take either me or my brother with him. We had to get a little tie on and show up at the office on a
right
Saturday. But one of the things I would do is I would go to the back, the what do they call the room with the
archives.
archive room, and I would pull newspapers from my birthday,
Yeah,
but different years, and I'd put it in a microfiche. That was the film. What would you put it up top and
right,
roll
right,
through
right.
it, and you read stories about your birthday, what happened on your birthday and certain years and stuff like that. So that was cool, but so that was my little run-in with old technologies today. It's just surprising some city or county in the US still hasn't moved it off of microfiche.
Well, I know my wife works for, they call it a pseudo state agency, whatever that means.
It's probably not funded totally from the state,
Yeah.
right?
And
Yeah.
so they have land records and, of course, documentation of contracts and so forth. And there's a department, it's now down to one person, I think. But that person's role for the rest of this year is to take that data that's in those drawers
Yep.
and scan into the system. So that,
I
get rid of the
know.
documents.
That's exactly what I said. I said, well, they must have lost that kid who was putting it, because some of it is online, but not all
Yeah.
the plat books are.
Yeah.
I said,
It
because
takes
it's
time.
yeah, plat book 1 through 7 were in there, but not 8 through 20 or whatever. I said, well,
Right.
it's probably when the kid left, and now they have nobody to put it
Well, and
in.
I think part of her headache was she had someone that didn't understand the historical documents. They were like, "What is this? How do they do that?" So she knew what scanning was, but she had no comprehension
What she
how
was
it
scanning.
got to the
Right.
imaging. She just looked at, so it's online. Well, how do you think it gets there? I don't know.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So she
Yeah,
had,
the disconnect was how does it transfer?
how did it get to the computer? Okay,
Right.
that makes sense. So that's pretty cool. Um,
If you think about that, hold your thought real quick and make a note. We're really living in, we take this stuff for granted, I think, but I think back to my grandmother and the story she told about being at Kitty Hawk, and how this transference of her seeing the Wright brothers fly and then putting her on and off a DC-8 or whatever it was to take her from
yeah.
Savannah to Texas to Orlando. We're in that time. We're living in a very similar time where not so much mechanical, although we're seeing what Elon Musk is doing now, but we're from a digital age and information age. We're seeing the end of Kitty Hawk, if you will, with paper and the
Oh, oh,
transference
oh.
of data and I know we've lived in the internet space for at least 30 years, but we're ready to phase out. I mean, just as you mentioned, there's a town still living in that space, but there are
That
very
isn't
few and far
digitized.
between. Yeah.
Do you think handwriting will be obsolete for the most part? Do they teach it in school? Do you know?
Well, we don't teach cursive anymore,
Right.
and it's interesting. I don't know that there's I don't, remember those little 3 lines that you got in the writing class? I guess in
Yes.
grade school they must be doing that. I don't know. I don't have a real sense of what's happening at each level. I know we're not teaching grammar anymore, which, uh,
Hmm. Is that because AI fixes it all for you?
well,
Or any, not AI, but
no. So, without getting myself fired, and I think this is going on across the nation, we've become such a standardized testing education system that there's money tied to the performance of the standardized test. And
yes.
so whenever that happened, we
You
stopped
teach to the
teaching,
test.
we teach the test.
Yeah.
And I'm a believer, if we teach the subject matter, the test, it's like the old throw strikes and the outs will come.
Yeah.
If we teach to the subject matter, the testing will take care of itself. But they got so tied up in earning a certain grade for your school, because there's we just found out that we're in A school and we're going to get a bonus.
Right.
I think that's like $900 or something, you know. So everyone's like, okay, how do we keep doing that?
That's good for beer.
Yeah. I
No,
still,
but that's a business philosophy I have of mine. I unfortunately I haven't been at that level in a company where I can establish this, but a bonus program of any sort should be changed every 3 years. And in like rules in
policy.
sports, yeah, because it takes about 3 years for people to game the system, right?
That's a good point.
Yeah, and so if you change it every 3 years, then people are kind of they're never really gaming the system anymore. And that's where I believe in like auto racing and everything. You should change because it will. I'm not going to get too political, but the political system is pretty much gamed at this point, as we know. And that's been 200 years, right? Or 200 plus years. But so anyhow, that's one of my philosophies is I think you should change the rules every 3 years or so on motivational things at the very least, so they don't get gamed.
That's interesting. Yeah. And I don't,
Thanks for your thoughts, Dave.
no,
Appreciate it.
I know you haven't stumped me, but I'm thinking it, and you're on point. I did want to ask you a NASCAR question. I saw a clip on one of my Facebook reels. I was, thumbing through, and this guy was racing. It was a really, Dave. It was it was a clip where the guy's finishing up the race. He's up against the wall, flooring it up against
Yes,
the wall, and
yes, that
it
was
doesn't look like he's going that fast, but the radio communicating back and forth, and it sounds like he needs to pass somebody to get the checkered flag or something. But then
yeah,
it
that
says there's
was
a rule you can't do that.
yeah, that's shoot, what's his name? He drives number one. He's a son of a watermelon farmer in Florida. I could picture him.
Yeah, that's funny.
Chastain? Yes, Sutton Chastain. So that was last year. And as you're looking it up, I'll get into it. Uh, so in the playoff system in NASCAR, they start with 16, the course of the season, there's 25, 30 races leading up to the playoffs. You have to be in the top 16 in points to move into the playoffs. And then every 2 to 3 races in the playoffs, they cut the field in four off, right? So you fall out of the playoff eligibility. So I think they were in the round of 12 or something at that point, and the last lap was coming, and the person he needed to pass to stay in the playoffs was a good half lap ahead of him. So this was a half-mile track or a three-quarter-mile track. I don't remember. I think it was where they're going this week, Martinsville. So what he did, he said, I knew it from gaming. I used to play in gaming. We used to
Martinsville,
do it
that's where he's at.
Yeah, we used to do it with slot cars as a kid. Remember, if you were on that outside lane, you could floor it, and your car would fishtail against the railing, so you could go really fast. So that's what he did. He just planted his car up against the wall and floored it. And he
So
got
does it give him an added advantage, like it's a whip or something, or does it just
well,
keep him?
he could go super fast and not wreck, right?
Okay.
Because he planted the outside of his car, the outside wall, and just floored it. And it was, going, and he just blew past everybody,
Okay,
including the
so they're
guy.
yelling at him. They're saying, "You made the transfer, man. You made the transfer." What does
Yes.
that mean?
That means he made it into the next round. He was about to lose out
Okay.
of the playoffs, but he needed an extra point, and he had to pass this one guy. And so he just planted it against the wall. What's his name? Chastain. What's his
Yes,
first name?
Chastain.
That's crazy. I can't picture him now.
Shoot.
Dave, not Dave Chastain, but
Ross.
Ross Chastain. Yes. And so when he wins the race, he smashes a watermelon on the ground because he's from a watermelon family.
Is
in
that
Florida.
in memory of Gallagher?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's to help sell more watermelons, I
His
guess.
uncle is Gallagher. You know that we had a fella in Florida who ran for state senator the year I ran for Congress, and he was from kind of a Levi County or Dixie, one of kind of, I want to say hillbilly, but kind of a rural county to the west of us. But it was part of the state district. He ran against a lady who's now the current senator. Um, um,
No one will know her, Dave.
yeah. Anyway, Jennifer's her first name. I don't want to give it away. Who cares?
Yeah.
Anyway, so he was kind of an unknown guy, but he was a watermelon farmer
Oh,
and
okay.
a cattleman too. And so what he did was he took his crop and he was putting watermelon and a sticker in everybody's mailbox. At the
A
foot of the
full
mailbox,
watermelon.
a full watermelon. Yeah, either in the box or at the foot of the mailbox. And that
Jamming
was
it in there.
at the right speed, they'll go right in there. But I think he must have laid it on the ground or something so he didn't get in trouble because they get long and
Yeah.
girthy. But anyway, but that was quite a calling card. I mean, of course, he had
Didn't
to
work.
drive. Well, no, but I think his name was Hollingsworth, but he had to get a lot of melons out there. But I always used to go, "Hey, nice melons." He's actually a pretty good guy.
He's probably heard that joke in
yeah,
Nice Melons joke in the book at
be
this
careful
point.
because yeah. Anyway, so interesting.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Well, the back up on that story, he totally ruined his car. I mean, it was
Well, you can see
totally
it now.
trashed. Yeah. And so, but it's been outlawed now because of that. And a few YouTubers have tried to kind of emulate it, test it out themselves because it definitely was done. I remember they showed it back. I was watching a race live and they were playing it in replay. And I'm like, oh, they must be playing it in high speed because the car, if you watch it, the car just rifles around the track at super high speed. And I'm like, oh, they're just playing it. And the more they played it, I was like, holy shit,
Is
this
it
guy.
something that's happened aerodynamically that's helping him with the way
No, it's just that you could floor your vehicle. It's like,
why can't you floor it in the open track?
because you'll spin out. The back end will whip around just like a normal car.
So when he's going around the turn,
He's using the
up against the
wall to keep
wall,
his car from
so he's got
spinning
rubber.
out.
He's got rubber on the track versus sliding. Okay.
Right. So he was able to just floor it and do like 180 around the
Yeah, he ended
turn.
up coming up underneath somebody and bumped them out of the way, and then
Yeah, because he wasn't going to give up at that point. They started moving over in front of him, and he's like, "Yeah,
See, there's your policy thing. They had to change it after 3 years, and because he
right."
figured out how to game the system.
Well, that's a different gaming of the system. But yeah, I do like that NASCAR's changed up. I think they're on Gen 7 car now. Yeah, I don't like the fact that each manufacturer, the only difference between manufacturers now that you can visually see is the front grille, right? Because they've made all the cars aerodynamically the same. There's no headlights. Yeah, it's all stickers on the outside. All in the name of safety and competitiveness. But
I mean, you can't even tell if you're running a Ford or a Chevy, can you?
right, unless you see the front grille on it, and then So So anyhow, but I do like the fact when they introduce a new generation car, if it's enough, it really, you could see it like last year, the field really level set. The big teams weren't winning at the beginning, right? It was a kind of a free for all, and you saw a lot of small teams able to succeed more because of that. But the longer that generation car stays on the circuit, the more the bigger teams start to win because they have the money to test and research and
So it's a new gen body style because they've
and
aerodynamic
chassis and different things of that nature. And different transmission. Now they use a transaxle transmission, which is you just pull back to go up a gear and push forward to go down a gear. It's not the old H pattern like it used to be. Things of that nature. So it changes the car up a lot, enough that the drivers and the teams really they struggle to find a competitive advantage with the cars. So
well, there you go.
Yeah.
A lot of NASCAR. I'm learning something every time we talk about it.
Well, I learned something myself this week. Our research assistant is I almost said Siri. What's her name? Alexa. And so I was listening to this comedy podcast, and TJ Miller, I don't know if you know him, he had a phone with him that had one of the AI assistants on it, and it was he called him Chad or something like that. I don't think it was the product. Now I think he named whatever platform he was using. He named the assistant
Right.
Chad, and they were using him, and it was much more interactive than what we get out of Siri. I'm Siri, out of Alexa. But so at the end they were petting. It was hilarious what they guys are comedians. What they were doing. But at the end he says, "Hey Chad, do you like Siri?" And so it described the difference between the two. A phone assistant isn't so much an AI product as it is exactly what it's named, a phone assistant. It helps you with, setting up your phone, with, doing different aspects of your phone, and it can give you quick, down and dirty information, but it's not deep where it can get into the bowels of the information very quickly and provide it back to you. So they were having it write jokes for the show, and I was trying to find a way. I logged into Chat GPT before you joined. I was trying to find a way to feed the audio of it into the podcast, and I'll work on that and see, because I was going to have it tell jokes, but I said, have you heard of the podcast We Can Help with Dave and Woody? And it basically said, yeah, features longtime friends, his Sigma Chi fraternity brothers, Dave and Woody. But it's basically that the thing you wrote up on there. But it says you can listen to the podcast on platforms like iHeart, YouTube, and Podcast Addict. That's one we haven't talked about before. So I asked it, I said, I need a funny joke about Dave. And apparently there's not too much information on it. So it said, why did Dave bring a ladder to the podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Because the jokes were going over his head. So a pretty generic one. It wasn't something specific.
Kind of a dad joke meets.
Yeah, it wasn't something specific to you. And then, but then it said, or try this one. Dave told a joke so good on the podcast that even Woody laughed. And it's serious when Woody laughs.
Wow.
Why would it go that route?
I don't know.
I thought that was kind of weird.
Well, I've talked about this before, a newsletter I do every week called The Small Business Patriot. It's a plug.
I see that on, you posted on LinkedIn?
Oh, it goes everywhere. It goes out. Yeah, it's got a auto post that goes out to all my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Anyway, the Small Business Patriot, and so it's pretty. I produce it through Constant Contact, and of course they're adapting all the AI features. So basically that. Anyway, so you can generate a post when you share it to social, and it asks you, excuse me, it asks you, do you want something simple? Do you want something inspiring, or a summary? And so I did one of them with a summary, and it wrote a nice summary. I used it, and it caught a bunch of hashtags, and pushed it out there. I don't know that it got much more. I study the responses where the reach and the people that weigh in and stuff. And it didn't over, it wasn't written so well that it got more response than not. But I could see it taking people's jobs, because even though I'm the sole guy that puts my newsletter together every week, it cut my time down. I could push a button and boom, it wrote the post for me. And so I'm like, hey, this is pretty good. I just saved 15 minutes,
Right. Well, how about this week you ask AI to write us the headline, whatever you call that, the banner,
the name of the show?
Well, the tag, whatever you always name the show. Yeah.
Well, so what it's doing though is it took the stuff that was in my newsletter that it could see. So it's not easy peasy, set it, forget it, making it up out of the dust. It's got to have something for it to read. But no, I still can't figure out. I hear Trump and I hear other people talking about this, that AI, there's one argument that says it's the future, but it's going to need so much power. AI is gonna need more power for the grid. I don't understand, why is it gonna need more power? Is the
We're
computers are
talking
doing
about the
more work?
data centers where all the information is housed, and the computing power to dive into that and
Okay, so instead of you
provide.
and I doing the research, coming up with the text, it's gonna have to go to work and go research all that stuff and then crunch it. And
Right.
so if it's doing that millions of times more than it is today, it's gonna drive more power.
That would be my guess as
And
to
that's kind
why.
of what I'm thinking too, but I never thought about that. Okay.
I mean, that's why they're experimenting with data centers in the ocean, right? Because of the. So I always tell people the story when I first started in cellular, the switch centers, where we housed all the switching gear to move how calls are mapped
Yeah.
to the listeners. It was about floor space back then. We were always short on floor space because we were expanding so rapidly. We would have to add on to the buildings and floor space and everything. And at a certain point in like the mid to early noughts, the early 2000s, um, it was becoming very digitized, and
It was
the
about
equipment,
bandwidth.
yeah, with fiber optics and routers and things of that nature, these huge pieces of equipment were becoming the size, we call them pizza boxes in the industry, the
Yeah.
size of a pizza box. But the problem was they generated gargantuan amounts of heat, these little pizza boxes compared,
Mm.
what used to be a whole cabinet of heat was now in one little box, and you'd have 30 of them in the size of the same space as the cabinet. So it stopped becoming about a space problem, and it started becoming a heat problem in
Huh.
the. So we'd empty some of these rooms only to fill them up with more electricity to feed the cooling systems to cool these rooms. So there was I always tell people, if you really want to feed, so what they do is they position the equipment in these rooms that the backs where all the fans
Right.
blow out. They suck air from the front, and they goes through the equipment and blows out the back. So they aim rows, so the backs of two rows face each other, and they call that the hot aisle, and that's where it sucks the air either up or down, and then they feed it in the front so the cool air goes. Anyhow, you walk down a hot aisle, you could roast a hot dog on. I mean, it's miserable having to walk down the hot aisle of those data centers. It's insane. So, but
Crazy.
how did we get there?
I don't know. We kind of just set it on.
AI and the power. That's what it was.
Uh,
So, but that was the difference between a phone assistant like Alexa. So maybe we're a little hard on Alexa. Maybe we should, step our game up and integrate with
well, I
a.
don't know that she's really programmed to do much. I tell you what she is doing, and I can't tell. So my daughter is somehow connected to this one. Are you familiar with the ability to drop in on someone else's? Do you know that? Do you have Alexa?
No, I don't. There's Alexas. Yes, I do, and so do the kids. So maybe I should watch out.
Is it in the room right now there with you?
No, I don't see one here. It's in the other room.
So be careful this. They did this to me. My youngest was up at school, and all of a sudden I hear this doot doot like that, a little tone.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what is that? I'm sitting here at the computer, and luckily, I wasn't, watching something or doing something wrong. I wouldn't do that anyway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, dun, 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 dun. Anyway, so all of a sudden I hear these girls giggling. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? And so I hear, Dad, is it okay if we talk? I'm like, who is this? And
Who
so
is this dad? Who is this?
who's your daddy? So apparently it's called dropping in.
Oh,
Um
but you have to have the account, I would assume.
yeah, I think it has to be tied to,
Let's hope so, right?
well, I
Yeah.
don't want to do it right. I kind of want to do it, but I don't know where she's at. But anyway,
It's all
so
right.
she's got different roommates now. It'll be kind of creepy.
You might feel a little weird.
Hey, what are you doing? Um,
Your
but what I was
dad
trying to
called
say,
tonight.
yeah, hey, don't mind me. I'll be over here in the corner. Okay, that suddenly got weird. What I was trying to say is she's become quite a salesperson. So now, you have the yellow ring. It's got notifications.
Yeah.
So I come home and it says, "Do you want to hear your notifications, Dave?" I'm like, okay. And so she plays them, and it's like that thing that music artist that you listen to has a new album. Can I send it to you? No. And I'm afraid to answer because it's going to end up on my list somewhere,
Yes. Yeah.
But she's got 3 offers for me like every day when I come home. I'm like, who's
Oh,
doing this?
but they're for your daughter.
I'm assuming
Oh,
my
okay.
wife and Sarah purchase, they buy shit all the time. Who knows what's
And
going
they
on.
listen too. If so, when you say something about going, like if we talk about going to Russia, to be a spy.
That's good.
Yeah. I know. I only do that because I know your Lexus in earshot.
She's like, I didn't get all that, please. Das Vidania. Yeah, so I think she's really a sales tool much more than an AI device.
Yeah, well, that's how the inventors are using it, right? The Amazon and Apple and Google.
Yeah, they're still listening. I think they hear us because I'm always telling her I don't wear any pants. So whenever she
Does
says
she
something,
try to sell you? Did she go, "Hey, I got an offer on some pants today.
15% off on some corduroys, some dungarees." No, I
I
haven't
think
had
you
that
should
one.
buy these, Dave."
Alexa, I'm not wearing any pants.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
She's not sure.
You should say, "You know how to help me." But hey, I was going to throw in a word of the week, but this is one of these that I was going to say, because this will go right past you. It's a word we all use in the offing, offing.
Yeah.
Like I was going to say, the AI taking over is in the offing. So what do you? How do? Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot here, but how do you define offing? And not from a
Gangster
mob, yeah, gangster.
In the off chance that
No, it means it's in the future, right? In the offing, it'll take over. But that's I got the word of the week and it came in and it said the definition I see is the more distant part of the sea in view. So I'm guessing we use it incorrectly. Is my
so the near ocean that you can see, not that, but not necessarily.
That's the awning.
Is it?
No.
Hang on. Alexa, what is the definition of offing?
Offing is usually defined as the more distant part of the sea seen from the shore, beyond the anchoring ground. For more, ask me to give you more definitions for offing.
More definitions. You gotta say those things. So,
yeah.
Where does it come from?
Where do all of them come from? Let's see. Oh, the English. 17th century.
Oh, am I in the offing over there? I see that big ship. Oh,
it's past the anchoring point. So anyhow, I was going to use that word, but I'm like, that's so in our vocabulary that I don't think you would have caught it as the word of the week.
Well, I never would have put it together with the ship, the maritime connection.
Because don't we say it's in? Maybe I'm using it. Maybe it's only me that uses it incorrectly. Who knows? So
I don't. That's not a phrase that I've used intently anytime recently.
Well, maybe you should, Dave.
Well, I'm still got
Overmorrow
working pretty hard.
Yeah. So once you're done with that word, you'll move on to offing. Stay in the O's.
All right, we're going to offing now. Move it. No, overmorrow is. I'm going to go with it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because Thursday is Wednesday is really the day I like to use it. I didn't use it today.
Yeah, you missed a TGIF, right? You could say overmorrow TGIF.
Hey, I did hump day today though. I got there early today. We got a new administrator. He's a young fellow. He's a alum from the.
When you say
school.
Administrator, do you mean the principal?
He's a vice principal.
Okay. But why do you call them administrator then?
Well, that's what we call, that's that's what the kids are calling them these days, is administrators. There's teachers. Let's see, there's educators, there's staff, as you said.
Oh, that's right.
There's custodial, kitchen.
Oh, so custodial's not even staff?
No, custodial is custodial. Cafeteria is kitchen. Then there's, I don't know, they're not paraprofessionals. Well, there are paraprofessionals and teachers' aides.
What the
And
hell?
then there's
What's
faculty.
a paraprofessional? Is that the guy who pulls the parachutes?
That's not, he's barely professional. He walks around cussing a lot, doesn't wear nice clothes. I'm like, come on, clean up your act. What do you expect?
You're a professional, for God's sake.
He's almost professional. I think that's what it means.
I see. You can't use those nicknames like you could call him the Veep and Prez, well, not Prez, but the principal.
The pal.
Yeah.
No, their titles are vice principal, but I think they call them administrators, the administration. I don't know. That doesn't matter to me. He's a young fellow. He's younger than Vanessa, so he's 30 something. But anyway, I got there early and he was in there making coffee or something. I said, "You're gonna take that Keurig thing out of there?"
That's right.
I do have an update on the
episode 2, 1, 3. I don't know. Season
anyway, so I said, today's hump day. And then he says, "What's that?"
What? I've got a show of what's
I
that
swear,
today.
and I just started laughing. I said, "Nothing. Don't
Well,
worry
that show, who was it? It was either Geico or Progressive.
Bud Light, wasn't it?
No, it was an insurance commercial with the camel walk through the thing. And he's like, Mike.
That was Bud Light.
No, it wasn't. It was an insurance commercial. Bud Light was the dogs.
Alexa, who did Hump Day commercials?
From dictionary.com. Hump Day rose to particular prominence in September 2013 thanks to a popular commercial by the insurance company Geico.
Yeah, Geico, yeah. You're right.
Don't trust me.
Wasn't Geico the duck? No, that was the lizard.
Geico's the lizard. Aflac's the duck.
Aflac. I like we're all up in arms about Bud Light, but the funniest one they did was the swear jar. You remember that? Well,
what's the premise? Because I forget. Well, hurry up, because we only got 3 minutes left.
So the office linebacker, that wasn't beer.
That was hilarious. Terry, the office linebacker.
You forgot your cover page, Terry.
Hey, Janice. As he's yelling at that guy, she walks by.
You quit playing solitaire, Bob. Anyway, I still watch that, get a kick out of it. But there was the office swear jar. There was a jar, like a fishbowl up at the receptionist. And this new guy comes in and goes, "Hey, what's this?" And she goes, "Well, it's the office swear jar. You put a quarter in or something every time you say a swear word." And he goes, "Yeah, so what is that? What good is that?" And she goes, "I don't know. We're going to buy something for the office when it gets full." He goes, "Well, what are we doing?" And then she goes, "I don't know. What do you want to do?" And he goes, then something comes back and he does it again. And she goes, "Oh yeah, we're buying Bud Light for the office."
Oh,
and we're all buying Bud Light. And then all of a sudden the cuts away to the guy going, "Hey, can I borrow your pen, Sally?" And she looks at him like, "You gonna help the team or not?" And he goes, "All right, can I borrow your effing pen?" And everyone from then on is like swearing like crazy. Oh, it's so hilarious. And then
that's a good segue, because when they were having the AI tell jokes, he told a joke, it was half decent, and then he goes, add some F-bombs to the thing, and it read the same joke back, but using the F word throughout. And that was a good one.
The one that got me was, I think one of the girls says, or one of the guys says, "Dang" or "darn" or something like that. And the girl goes, "That's not going to do it." And he goes, "All right, F you son of a," but it's all bleeped out, But she corrected him and he's like, "Okay, that's good." I don't know. I miss that stuff.
On that note, Dave, it's time to say goodnight.
Oh, I'm so just starting to get happy.
I know. Well, good. Glad I can help you with that.
I start drinking again. All
right. Just start watching because Terry, the office linebacker, was actually a bit before it made the commercial. So if you
It
go
was
on
a Saturday Night
YouTube,
Live skit, wasn't it?
no, I shouldn't say that. I don't think so. I think it was
It's
something
hilarious.
he was developing. So go on YouTube and subscribe to We Can Help with Dave and Woody, and then Google Terry, the office linebacker.
And the swear jar for Bud Light.
There you go.
I miss those commercials. They were fun.
If we were really good, I'd be able to play that audio on the podcast.
I think we'd get fined for it or something because, you know,
Who
all those
knows?
people tuning in. All right. Check us out on YouTube, like Woody said. Subscribe, like, follow, and listen to us on Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Apparently, podcast, what was it, Geek or something? What was that thing
I
called?
don't know. I don't have it up anymore.
That's okay. iHeartRadio,
Podcast Addict.
podcast
Yeah, that
Addict.
one. Mhm.
I don't want to promote stuff where nobody has it. I've seen that one though. A couple people.
I've heard it. Yeah.
Spotify, Spreaker, and YouTube. That's what you need to do. All right. Well, this was a good one. I feel a little bit better. I'm almost
Good.
out of the woods too. So, always a pleasure, my
I
friend.
see the
Woody.
woods behind you. It is getting thin.
Yeah, it's fall. All right. Guard well the honor of the cross. And if you can't do that, then don't let the stain of dishonor damage all of us. All right. Words to live by. See you later.